I think we're recording.
Ah,
Nice.
good morning.
What's up? I'm still drinking my coffee and it's 12:35 over here.
You haven't gotten a wine yet? What's wrong with you?
That comes later. Good to see you again, Bob.
You too?
Back due to popular demand. I think that first video we did a couple of months ago, a lot of people were like, dude, you should get Bob more on.
Wow.
More often.
I like that moron. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. You should get that moron. That's a good one. I got to remember that. And you and I were chatting a couple of weeks ago, and I am sick and tired of the same old shit being shown on these record centric channels. Nothing against them, mind you. Yeah. But I'm sick and tired of all the same old reissues and records being discussed. Yeah. And you had this brilliant idea, my friend.
Well, it was because I'm looking through boxes of stuff that I haven't looked at since I bought them 5-6 years ago, mostly from the Tom Null collection. And I kept pulling out these odd jazz records or whatever records on weird labels. I was like, people should see these. I mean, they might get something out of it. You never know.
I certainly have. I mean, I can't recall off the top of my head now, other than that one record that you're going to actually feature. But I've certainly discovered quite a few artists and titles and records that are phenomenal musicianship, great sound quality, not expensive in the relative scheme of things, exactly, and are just fantastic music that I've never heard of, that are definitely not on anyone's radar. Yeah. So let's get started.
All right. Well, first one's kind of an oddity.
Very wild.
Larry Wild Rice, W-R-I-C-E.
Yeah, that looks interesting. I love the cover.
It's got he's a drummer, and he studied briefly with Gene Krupa, and he was a follower of Gene Krupa. He plays in that kind of vibe. Guy named Bob Bryant on trumpet, who I have not researched yet. I don't know who he is. Then, of course, Jimmy Spalding on tenor and alto.
Okay.
And Bobby Blivens on organ. I don't know him either, so I need to do some research on him. But it's a recording on Pacific Jazz.
Oh, I love it. Yep.
Richard Bach's great label from the West Coast. And it's just an odd record. It's like nothing I've ever heard before. The track I put in the video link, I think, is Antler Rock. It was the most interesting to me. It's just a weird record that you're probably never going to see in the wild, or nobody's certainly going to talk about it. It's an odd,
yeah,
right. So it was just interesting. The sound is, average, nothing special, but it's just an interesting record by somebody I had never heard of, and I've been dealing and collecting jazz since 1990. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Wonder how many pressings. That's the one. If you recall, I always ask you that. Like, man, I wonder how many of these records they actually pressed.
It was released in 1961. Wow. And on Discogs, there are 8 copies, evidently.
Wow.
There you go. Cool. Mono and stereo.
Crazy.
Next up, I'm going to move through.
That looks fun.
Let me find a place here.
Pepper-Knepper. That looks fun.
Pepper Adams and Jimmy Knepper. It's got, the reason I like this album, or I thought it was interesting anyway, it's got Wynton Kelly on piano, one of my favorite hard bop piano players. It's got Doug Watkins on bass, who's amazing, and Alvin Jones on drums.
Nice.
This is recorded in 1958.
Ooh.
And again, it's not going to be for everybody. It's trombone and baritone. But again, the track I will link to is really cool. Very different. Jimmy Knepper played with the bassist Charlie Mingus. Wow. early on, and then later when Mingus came back and did those concert, those college, I forget what they were exactly, but they were like later.
Yeah.
So Jimmy Knepper, you're thinking big band guy, and he mostly was, but being a trombonist, but he actually was a favorite of Charlie Mingus.
Huh, love it. Nice.
Moving on.
Ooh, number three. Number three.
So we got
Free Blown Jazz.
Free Blown Jazz by Tony Scott, and again with Jimmy
Knepper, yeah.
And a weird label, Carlton label.
Huh.
There's not a whole lot on the Carlton label. By the way, the last one was on MetroJazz, which is another unusual small jazz label. I think the only thing I really know on that label was Sonny Rollins and Toshiko Akiyoshi, maybe a few others. But anyway, this is on Carlton. Clark Terry, Bill Evans on piano, Milt Hinton, Jerry Grimes, Paul Motion on drums, and Shahib on baritone.
Shahib.
Yeah, so a lot of these guys continued on in the later years and got into more of the free jazz movement, or whatever you want to say. And of course, Bill Evans special. It's a very odd recording in the sense that when I first put it on, I'm like, what's different about this? So it's obviously recorded in a big room, probably very, very minimal miking. I'm guessing, since it's in stereo, just two mics at most. And you hear the room big time. And it's not a bad thing, but it's not what you're used to hearing. It's not a contemporary type sound where everything's close mic. So it's a unique recording. Tony Scott is a clarinetist, and you're thinking, well, clarinet, Dixieland or swing jazz. It's neither. It's got elements of that because that's where he came from. But with the other guys on it, it's kind of a post bop kind of groove that's really quite nice. The track I linked to features both of them, Jimmy Knepper and Shahib playing baritone, and it's really an interesting track.
My biggest question: have you had tequila yet?
Yeah.
And number two, are those spoken for yet? Those two?
I might have extras of them. I got to go through the box. So I'm pretty sure I have multiple copies of those.
All right, in my stash.
There you go. Another very unusual record. Stuff Smith. He's a violinist. Sweet Swingin' Smith stuff on 20th Century Fox Records. Another kind of unusual label, especially for
never heard of him. Yeah.
And Denzel Best on drums. We all know who he is. George DeVivier on bass.
Wow.
James, they call him James Jones, but it's Jimmy Jones on piano.
Wow.
And John Letman on trumpet, who I don't know anything about and I need to research. I'm very well prepared for this, by the way. Obviously.
Hey, you know way more about it than I do.
Again, he's very different, more in the swing jazz vein, and on a few tracks he does actually sing. It's very cool. If you like Stefan Grappelli with Django Reinhardt, that kind of vibe.
Yep.
That's a lot of what you're going to get.
Nice.
I couldn't find any tracks to link off of this particular record, but I linked a track I really liked off a different record, which I also recommend, of Stuff Smith's, and that's got Paul Smith on piano, who's amazing.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, very nice. That was
very
a nice
cool.
one.
I like it. All right.
And I will wrap up quickly.
Nice. Oh, there it is. Yes. Green Guitar Blues.
The punch. Bucky Pizzarelli, Green Guitar Blues. This was released in 74, I think, 72 or 74. It's got Mary Pizzarelli on, I think his daughter, on classical guitar, George DeVivier again on bass, and Don Lamond on drums. Top guys. This is on Monmouth Records. It's a mouthful. Another unusual label, and you can find it pretty much anywhere. These are all, by the way, very reasonably priced records, but this in particular, amazing, stunning performances, very well recorded. Highly recommend it. In fact, you got a copy, did you not?
Yeah. Yeah, a
Yeah.
couple of years ago when you first put it on, we were a couple of tequilas into it already.
Yeah.
But I remember when you put it on, I was like, "Holy shit, man! Who is this? This sounds
Yeah.
amazing!"
Yeah.
And
Right.
yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And like you said, inexpensive,
Yeah.
and just fantastic.
Of the bunch, that's the easiest to find and probably the best sonically, of course, for
Yeah,
sure.
love it,
But anyway, I
dude.
just want to share a small group of oddities that I've pulled out of boxes. And I'll continue to do this if people are interested, because there's a lot of interesting jazz out there you'll never see because it's on an odd label or because it only had one good track and the rest of it wasn't, it didn't sell.
Yeah, yeah,
But
no, I completely agree. Yeah,
all these at least have something worthwhile on them for somebody,
yep.
depending on your taste. And it's interesting, just an interesting group of records you're not going to see very anywhere else.
I have never seen them. Granted, I've not been collecting records as long as you have, certainly not jazz, but I have never seen those except when I'm with you. So go figure.
Small labels and odd dudes.
Oddities. Love it. Well, Bob, to your point, if this turns successful, guys, drop a comment below.
Yeah.
Engage. We love hearing your feedback. If this is something of interest, thumbs up and like it and all that. And we'll do this on a weekly basis.
Yeah. I keep it short and sweet, and I promise to always put a real gem in there amongst the oddities.
Love it. Hey, we're at 11 minutes, 45 seconds, which is perfect. And thanks for jumping on so quickly. Peace, love, and hair grease.
All right.
And we'll see you next Wednesday.
Awesome. Take care, guys.
Hey, we'll maybe we'll even do a live one.
Whatever you like, man.
Once a month, a live one. Ooh.
Gary. Ooh.
Thanks, Bob.
Adios. Take care.
See you, buddy. Bye.
Bye.